India is in arms, training troops as fast as they can be trained. Latest reports show that 80,000 men a month are joining the Indian Army.
The Sikh contribution to the Second World War was exceedingly important. They probably formed about a quarter of the combat units of the Indian Army. So that they were in tanks, there were infantry, there was Sikh artillery, so huge contribution.
And behind the lines of troops, and forming a solid bond with them, a teeming population of workers, young and old, are making the weapons of war for their countrymen to wield.
It's very key for the Allies, particularly in the West, to have the numbers that they need to hold back the German advance in North Africa and to push up Italy towards the heartland of Europe. So the contribution that Sikh soldiers make and the contribution that Sikh airmen make during the Battle of Britain in particular, where every single pilot counts, is a very key contribution.
In the summer of 1940, the German Luftwaffe's bombs pummeled Britain's towns and cities in a bid to hammer Britain into submission.
Millions of firebombs rained down on the great city of London. In a matter of minutes, more than 1,500 different sections of the city burst into roaring flames. Flames that swiftly merged into the greatest fire in recorded history.
Britain sent out a plea for foreign pilots to help defend the country from the threat of Nazi invasion, and Indian fighter pilots were among those who flew to the rescue. One of the first to sign up was a young Sikh moved by the plight of the British people.
I took part in the operations against the Germans in Europe. London was being bombed day and night. It was almost every day a scene of fire. So then I felt that I was fighting for the right cause. England was alone in 1940, and we had hardly any defense. So that was the time when I started feeling that we have to sort of fight for survival. And that was the reason that I continued to fight for the next 4 or 5 years. Whenever I travelled to Uxbridge from London Central, we had to take the underground Piccadilly line. And I would find the platforms full of people. There was hardly any space even for us to get into the train and come out. Their plight was really pitiable at that stage. So we have to fight to win the peace.
Booji soon found that the combination of a turban and RAF wings made him a popular figure in wartime London.
People here had never seen an Air Force officer with a turban, and wherever I went, they felt very sort of obliged. They said, "Oh, you're fighting for us." I stood in a queue trying to see the Gone with the Wind film. That was a long queue. I stood at the back, and as soon as the man in front of me looked at me, he says, "Sir, you don't have to queue." I mean, no. And when I went to the ticket counter, the girl there, she said, "You don't have to buy a ticket, sir. You can go in." I wrote to my father, I says, "No one could better place to die than a place here. See, because these are the people who love me and respect me."
That affection was reciprocated as Booji spent the next 5 years flying dangerous fighter sweeps that saw him cheat death on several occasions.
In one of my encounters with the German ME, I suddenly saw my dashboard smashed. See, what obviously had happened, aircraft behind me had fired without my knowing it. Black smoke from the engine started coming. Oil started coming out. I couldn't do anything except to try and return home. At about 8,000 feet, I thought I wouldn't make it. And then I saw the white cliffs of Dover. Oh, I was so happy about it and continued to glide. And I just crashed onto the ground. I was dragged out of the aircraft. People saying, "Oh, he's still alive, he's still alive." I could hear them, but I had my eyes closed because of the fire.
Despite suffering serious head injuries, Bougie was back in the pilot's seat and protecting Britain from Nazi attack just weeks after the crash.
The Battle of Britain was won, but not by Hitler.
Bougie survived being shot down 3 more times, and by the end of the war he'd risen to squadron leader and was awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross Medal for his heroics in the air.
Without the Indian Army, Italy would have been very difficult. Without the Indian Army, the Burma campaign could not have been fought, or if it had fought, we would have lost. No Indian Army, no Far East campaign.
We wanted to fight against Hitler also and against Japanese also. And because we heard stories at that time in schools also, our teachers was telling us that these Japanese are like this, Germans are barbaric. Yes, and so we were actually against them because we wanted democracy or human rights.
For many of the Sikh soldiers, it was their faith that helped sustain them through difficulties on the battlefield.
In the morning, we used to pray, always. Everybody went from the tents or outside also, anywhere when we were in the army. We were praying for that, so we should win this war and God save us.
By the end of World War II, an estimated 400,000 British soldiers had lost their lives and 36,000 Indians died fighting alongside them. Sikhs were again overrepresented in terms of valour, with 4 Victoria Crosses amongst an impressive medal haul.
One of the things that's happened since the end of empire is that it's become difficult or fraught to recognise more broadly the contributions that imperial and Commonwealth troops and airmen and sailors made to the war effort. Part of that actually, I think, comes from the need in Britain to create a national myth to replace the myth of Britain as the bedrock of a great empire. An idea, I think, has grown up in people's minds that it was we what defeated the Germans. And that narrative, of course, leaves out the Indians and all of those groups that made up these armies, including the Sikhs.
In the decades after the war, the British Army's ranks benefited from Punjabi immigration into Britain, and today the Sikh military tradition continues to flourish on British soil. Last year, 2 young Sikhs were selected to guard the Queen, and via a unique new initiative, the Army has begun recruiting in the very heart of one of the largest Sikh communities in Europe, Southall. The Gurdwara project, a collaboration between the British Army and Southall Sikh Temple, has already led to a number of young Sikhs signing up for the armed forces.
Morning, gentlemen. My name's Warrant Officer Steve Mack. We're just here to give you information about different trades in the Army. That's fine. We've come into the community to show the Sikh community what jobs we have on offer. So hopefully it would inspire them to join the British Army. It's the heritage the Sikhs have with the British Army, you know, what they've given in the First World War and the Second World War. It's not just the Sikh community, it's all the communities, the Muslim community, the Hindu community, you know, having a diverse army. There's Sikhs fighting in every conflict that's going on at the moment.
Me and my brother, we served together in Afghanistan, and my mum was a bit worried, but end of the day, she'd been a Sikh and Sikh mum, and she was really proud of us, like that we are doing something for the country.
We would like to thank the army. They give us opportunity for the last 2 years. They come here every other weeks to recruit our youngster. So we always encourage the youngster to join the army, because I know my background is from the army as well.
The Sikh tradition with the British Army goes back a long way, and, you know, we live in Great Britain, therefore, you know, we are proud to represent in the forces. My granddad was in the army, my wife, she's in the army, she's in the Royal Logistics Corps. You know, in the army we promote integrity, you know, courage, discipline. Them things are part of our religion.
We've had 85 Sikhs recruited through the Gurdwara project, so hopefully it should go nationwide.
While the current British Army continues to forge links with the Sikh community, one Sikh war hero will sadly no longer be around to bear witness to his role in its past. On the 19th of September of this year, squadron leader Mahinder Singh Bhuji, the last known surviving World War II Indian fighter pilot, passed away at the age of 92. Just 1 week later, at the Shatri Monument in Sussex, a new memorial was unveiled listing the names of each of the Indian soldiers who were cremated there during the First World War.
My lords, honoured guests, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the inauguration of the Patcham Down Indian Forces Cremation Memorial. We can finally acknowledge these soldiers by name. This memorial is a testament to this country, a country whose freedom these brave and foreign soldiers fought and died for. It tells us that even after all those years, we as a nation have not forgotten them. In honour of his grandfather, the late Subedar Manta Singh, who is cremated here and whose name appears on this memorial, Jamal Singh Johar. This memorial and the fighting of the Indian soldiers is indicative of the relationship between India and Britain, which has existed for a few hundreds of years. And it's important that both cultures recognise that they fought hand in hand. It's an important aspect of history that hasn't been given it the respect that I think it deserves. They made a huge contribution.
For Jamal Singh Johal, whose grandfather Manta Singh died saving the life of his captain, the new memorial ends a lifelong quest to gain recognition for his courage.
I'm feeling emotional plus very proud that at least we can see his name inscribed on the panel.
A lot of these soldiers and airmen are very rapidly passing away now, and the few that are left are very old now. So it's important to actually put down their experiences now before we lose it totally.
I always get very grumpy when I see the Sikh running the corner shop who is not treated with respect, because his father, and certainly his grandfather, fought for this nation. And if he's not the grandson of a soldier, he's certainly the nephew of one. These are fighting people. These are people who have contributed to our history and what we've done. Treat them with respect.
The BBC Asian Network also has a documentary highlighting the soldiers who fought for Britain. To listen, go to bbc.co.uk/Asian Network.